Hello, world, and welcome to Creating Light with Kelsey. And welcome to eclipse season. When this releases, we're in it. I think the first eclipse would have just happened of the spring. And are you feeling it? Because I am. I'm feeling it. I'm not an astrologer, but each year my body gets more attuned to the energies of picking up on the big shifts that the cosmos are asking of us. And what's happened for me is I moved again. And that's the big things that happen during eclipse season is relationships starting or ending, moves happening, career shifts, but just like big life things, like where it's your soul pulling you back into alignment or further into your bigness of your purpose. If you already feel that you're in alignment, it's just every 6 months these eclipses happen like a reality check. And they're usually chaotic too, and just very intense, high energy, uh, and you ride the wave. There's literally nothing that you can do because you're going to feel it internally, and something's going to be happening externally usually. And on a couple episodes ago, I talked about, oh, like here I am in a different location, and now but I'm not going to be here for long. And now YouTube people, you can see I'm yet again in a different location. So I feel like it was the first eclipse or the previous one of the fall, and that was when the hurricanes were happening around Florida, and I live in Florida, and I had to evacuate both times and be slightly displaced and just, everything is rattled. That was a very big, like, oh, hello, eclipse season and hurricanes happening at that time. And since then, I feel like I've kind of been floating around and in this like massive wind energy and tornado type things because that's been coming up in my dreams and in my drawings. And I've been shifting a lot and waiting for the next appropriate time to land where I'm meant to land, not knowing that what the fuck is happening, but it makes sense now of like all these shifts and moving around that's been happening. It's just like I've been picked up and placed other places. But what I really want to bring to the forefront for this episode in particular, flowing with that, is how to flow with chaos and how can we do that and be inside our body instead of in states of disassociation, distraction, numbing, and bringing to the forefront of like this is also why we do the work, right? This is why we tend to our internal world. This is why we gain a relationship with our darkness, is to be able to navigate chaos. Because no matter how long that you've been on this healing journey, you are not immune to chaos. You are not immune to shit hitting the fan. You are even not immune to quote unquote bad things still happening. It's about how can we be present through all experiences of life. And that's something I constantly tell people on, and it's a hard pill to swallow because the the therapy world and the wellness and healing community, spiritual community can often paint healing and doing the inner work as this picture of it to reach a fixed state of healed, duh. Or if you are on this path, it means that everything is always going to be pleasant, blissful, happy all the time, and that's just not realistic. Because if that's the goal, then we're in the realm of delusion. Because being a human, we're in a dualistic 3D physical reality where we feel that density. We notice that within our body. That's why we have a body to be able to pick up on those senses. And that's why we do the work to be in tune with our body and those senses so we can respond to what is happening in a way that best serves us instead of perpetuating harm. Because if we don't ever have a relationship with our darkness, when chaos comes, when eclipse season comes twice a year, so that's something that we can never escape. That amount of chaos, we can't predict the levels that you'll experience every 6 months, but it is a guarantee that every 6 months there is going to be a little bit of chaos that's going to visit you. And if we don't ever have a relationship with our darkness, then we're always going to be operating off of fear and avoidance instead of in communion with it because it's information. Like darkness itself of our own internal world is not innately bad. And I say darkness, and I mean our shadows, these parts of self that we often want to reject and suppress and pretend that it's not there, but it is. And it will rule you unconsciously if you continue to avoid it because it's not going anywhere, then it will just come out in unexplainable ways or through projections or just complete disassociation. And then you're walking through life on autopilot instead of creating and being in a way that you want to, that is in alignment with your essence and who you truly are. I will give, of course, a real life example of like, oh wow, this shit works. And yes, I am a teacher and I still need those moments sometimes of outer reflection because I'm still human of like, okay, yes, this shit works. Let me keep going. Because what's the alternative? I've already lived the alternative. But every now and then, sometimes I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Why do we still do this stuff? What's the purpose? It does this, is this really helpful or, whatever. And it is. So we are also in, and I'm not a numerologist, which just kind of goes along the realm of astrology. These are just things that I know of and passing and have friends that know about this. And I'm in communities to get some like surface level education. So when I speak to it, I'm speaking to that from that place, not in a place of educating you on this. I'm coming from a place of I'm a human experiencing what this is actually happening right now. But we're in a collective year 9 for numerology, and I'm in a personal year 8. So what's not a coincidence is right now we're entering eclipse season and we're at the beginning of this year 9. I found myself because I visited my parents over the winter, the first half of winter. And then when I came back to Florida, I was in a new place and I was staying in this cute little guest house. And it took a turn from being a cute little guest house to chaos happening. And it being a mirror of when I was in process of leaving my now ex-husband. When I went to him and communicated that I wanted to separate and I wanted a divorce, but I couldn't leave immediately because we shared a home together and I just graduated grad school. I didn't have a job yet from that new place to be able to immediately leave and all the legal stuff in the way that needed to get addressed beforehand as well. But then there was a moment of that waiting period of I'm stating that I want to leave to when I could actually leave, being in that limbo time, and then chaos happening, which, oh my, I think that happened around the spring eclipse season too. I didn't even put that together. So chaos happened, and then it kind of collapsed time of like, no, you leave now. You leave now before you have all the answers, before you have everything figured out. Just take the leap of faith. And like this will still continue to happen and close in the way that it needs to in the 3D of paperwork, lawyers, actual legality of divorce and splitting things, which we didn't split things, but all of that, but you physically leaving now to be somewhere else because this, we're no longer doing this. And in that time, I did the best that I could with the tools that I had as far as staying present, trying to learn the lessons, feeling the feelings, and not rushing the process and not wanting to escape, numb, or avoid, and staying in my power and not succumbing to continuous victim mentality. Well, this particular period mirrored that time. And it was like chaos happened, something happened. Then I was like, never mind, I no longer want to be living in this guest house. Then I communicated that and following the early termination clause of the lease. And when that happens, so there's going to be a limbo period of when I stated that I wanted to leave, limbo period, and then before I could actually leave. Within that time, more chaos happened, shit hit the fan, and then it was like, oh no, you leave now. You leave now before everything else is figured out. It's not so clean cut and ride the wave, baby. And this time, It was, and I felt the victim energy be present again. And it was another opportunity of, because it felt so similar in my body of when I was leaving my ex-husband, that this was another moment of, okay, here's the victim again, feeling these intense feelings and being in chaos. And now you're more aware. You're more aware, you're more connected, you're more in tune with your body. You have a deeper relationship with your internal world, with your darkness. And what can you do? What can you do from here? How can you navigate this in a way that's serving you and not neglecting you? Because we're obviously still processing as I'm sharing this story, as far as a way of like conveying it through verbal language. Because back then, when I was leaving my husband, there was still a lot of ways when I was in process of leaving, of neglecting myself and my needs. And then this time was an opportunity to not do that. And obviously semantics and different things. And back then there was like le more legitimate safety concerns. And it was like that, like where do we need to still do that or people please a little bit to be safe, to get out of a situation, because that was like way more intense than what I experienced just now. So layers. But this time with chaos happening, the victim part of self coming back up to play of tending to her needs, but in a way of not my own behavior in this present moment being reactive to the chaos that was happening of like, okay, I see you, I love you. What do you need? How can I tend to that? And then ultimately, what do we truly need so other parts of me can step it up and take care of the situation and actually protect the victim instead of her getting hurt or me getting hurt or me staying in situations where I already know that it's not going to be in the long run safe in different kind of ways to stay here. And that's why it was being chaos was happening to show me to leave. And it was so cool to witness and also show up in a way where I witnessed that something happened that I wasn't okay with and I didn't want to be around or live in this place anymore. And then I took the steps to get out and to hold a boundary, to stay true to that, and to not give a fuck of what was going to happen in that process as far as how the owner was going to react, how the contract was going to be broken, if what money it took to get out of the contract, and then worrying about just the process of moving again, because all those things can be seen as inconvenient and reasons to not do something that you know that you need to do because it's going to shake shit up a little bit or be uncomfortable or, like I said, be quote unquote inconvenient. And having that conversation with my internal world of like, you are more important than this seemingly inconvenience. And I will take this uncomfortable transition that's going to be so tiny to where you feel safe any day. And I choose you over that. I choose you over instead of trying to make myself small and gaslight and say myself, keep myself in a situation that is damaging to my overall health. But if I wouldn't have had a relationship with my darkness to be able to descend into my body and meet that victim part of self, to feel what she was feeling because she was terrified. And like there was a couple days there, I was just completely sobbing. And then hold space to where she felt safe enough. She didn't fully trust. She told me that. She's like, I don't fucking trust you to actually protect me or do what needs to be done. And but for her to speak to me in that way, if I didn't have a relationship with my darkness, there's no way that that would have happened. That I wouldn't have been able to meet my shadow and myself in that way to know what I truly needed to move forward when chaos was happening in my outer world. Because that's also a reflection. If chaos is happening in our outer world, it's trying to get us to turn inward because as within, so without. Like our outer world is a reflection of our internal world in so many ways. And so when that happened, turned inward, what's going on inside? Oh, the victim is here. The victim is visiting. The victim is triggered. And what can we do to where she doesn't have to wreak havoc internally to get her needs met? She can just, how can I hold her? But by doing all of that, That this chaotic moment literally only lasted 3 weeks, maybe like less than a month. Like I moved in somewhere, shit hit the fan, I felt my feelings, made decisions, started taking action, shit kept hitting the fan after I started to take action to then leave the place, and now I'm in a new location. Like, was it chaotic? Yes. Was it stressful? Yes. Was it like ungrounding in a way? And, whatever. We can tick off all these unpleasant feelings that were happening and around. And yes, but it was 3 weeks of my life. Can you imagine if knowing that that situation was something that I wasn't meant to be in and chaos was presenting itself, that I didn't ride the wave of chaos and where it was trying to redirect me? Because that's also where like chaos is not innately bad. It's shaking shit up to show you where disharmony is existing. And are you going to do what you need to do to come back to balance? That's the divine, dark, feminine energy right there. So you're going to listen. Because if not, if I didn't, then and if I stayed there, it only would have got I fucking know it would have only gotten worse and more hectic and more chaotic until I would have decided to pay attention and listen to the redirection that chaos was trying to present to me in that moment. So yeah, 3 weeks of my life feeling like witnessing it, noticing it, feeling it, all of that, and then choosing something differently. It gets to be that swift when you have this strong relationship with your darkness, your internal world. And I also just say focus on the darkness because that's what we often want to avoid. And that is what is wreaking havoc in so many ways. And once we have that relationship established, then we're also in constant relationship with liberation and everything that's on the flip side of darkness. Because as within, so without, as above, so below. Yeah, there's that little tidbit. Well wishes through eclipse season because we're literally right in the thick of it. So, what is it trying to show you? What is any type of chaos that you may be experiencing outwardly, inwardly? What is it trying to show you? What is your internal world trying to communicate to you through chaos? How can you tend to that? How can you meet it? If you need assistance in meeting that in any ways, check out the show notes. There's different ways that you can work with me, and I have so many different somatic class replays, or if you join my email list, you'll get 2 classes for free. And then I have so many recorded somatic classes because with chaos and darkness, that's so much body-based stuff, and it needs to be physically moved in that way. And that's also tapping into the energy and emotion of moving the body, being in tune with the energy body, because that is the essence of somatic work. So if you're needing support and help and you're listening, you're like, it makes sense. I hear what you're saying, Kelsey. I understand with my mind, but I still don't get it. I don't know how to actually do that. Check out the show notes. So many different ways to work together. Or if you want to be more independent, I have a bunch of recorded somatic classes that you can do in your own time. But thank you for listening. And remember, when we see the light in ourselves, we create light in others.